We're back with my friend and journalist, Andy Ngo, editor over at Quillette. Andy, right before we took a break, we were talking a little bit about the unique system of the city of Portland. Now, you were attacked 3.5 weeks ago viciously by Antifa. What is it about the political system in Portland in particular that has made it seems that they are just not pursuing this case with any vigor whatsoever?
When I see the mainstream media covering what happens in Portland, these journalists are not in Portland, so they're not really aware of the context of why this violence keeps happening. Portland is a harbinger of what happens when politicians turn a blind eye to far-left militancy for political reasons. And Portland's governance is quite unique in that the position of the mayor is a dual role. He or she is also the police commissioner. So in a city that's a progressive monoculture, where people by and large have adopted a very anti-police narrative, you have that as one variable. You have a mayor who's up for re-election, and you have a mayor who's also police commissioner.
Yeah.
So you can see how...
And that is such a unique system, right?
It is.
Think about that. There are political incentives to policing. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's not the way the law enforcement is supposed to work.
The potential for abuse is unbelievable with that. Help people understand what is going on in Portland, because you have these clashes occurring fairly regularly between sort of right fringe groups and left fringe groups. Give us a sense, how much of the population is participating in these clashes? What's it like on a day-to-day basis? And draw out the implications of what this means in terms of where the country might be heading.
Yeah. The number of people participating in the street violence is small, but people need to keep in mind that you only need to have a small number of violent extremists to be potentially very destabilizing.
Yes. Sure. I think that's an important point.
In the case of Portland, because of the other political conditions that I just mentioned, it literally is destabilizing, I would say. So you have individuals, very small groups, right-wing groups, who come in and host events that progressive Portland views as provocative. It can be something as simple as a American flag-waving event.
And these events are intentionally staged to be provocative.
Some of them are. Some of them are. Yeah.
The rhetoric is absolutely incendiary, provocative. And the reaction it elicits from Portlanders is one of, you have a very small group of people, the Antifa Black Bloc, who come out and have their pre-planned violence. They call it self-defense, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's actually premeditated violence. Then you have a much larger number of people who don't cover the face, but believe that they are participating in protests against fascists. I think some of that, their information is wrong, and I think is inflamed by the progressive local media there. And so you have these two groups that are ideologically opposed to one another, and then you have police who are essentially not allowed to enforce the law.
They look like they're mostly standing. I'm sure there's limited resources, right? And so I want to be fair to them. But from the video, it doesn't look like they're intervening in the way that they should. There was an interesting quote, I think this was in the BuzzFeed profile of you that I read, where the journalist who wrote that piece quoted another journalist who basically described what was going on in Portland as information warfare. Because you've got everybody there with their cameras trying to win the narrative that serves their political interest. I wonder if you agree with that assessment of what's going on.
I think what was fascinating about that profile on BuzzFeed of me is it focused on this rapidly changing media landscape and how those who work in establishment or legacy media, I think, are having a difficult time coping with how things are changed. So now, with Twitter and social media, anybody with a camera and a data plan on their phone can potentially attract a large following. So there is an aspect, I think, of information warfare out there. I think it's to the benefit of the public the more people have cameras out there, because before you had almost literal gatekeepers of, just due to They were the ones who had the cameras, right?
Right.
So now you get, and if it wasn't for this focus of all these citizen journalists and local journalists having their mobile phones out recording, the attack on me wouldn't have been caught on camera.
That's right.
So I'm very grateful for that. I can understand how when you work for yourself and you don't have editors above you making sure that you're an ethical journalist, those are certain issues as well that going forward, all citizen journalists as well, will have to grapple with.
Sure.
With these questions.
Final question for you, Andy. You're here in Washington, D.C., meetings on Capitol Hill. What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want lawmakers to take away?
I am here just to share my story of what happened to me and the knowledge that I've gained from covering Antifa since 2016. Being all the way out in D.C. or New York, it's easy to sort of dismiss what's happening in a small
Anywhere
city
else.
like Portland, right?
Yeah.
But with 2020 coming around, and depending on the election outcomes, we could be seeing a lot more political violence.
Yeah.
And we've already had one Antifa-related casualty. I don't want to, do policymakers have to wait until there's more dead people before something's done? The beating with me was, it should not have happened in a major American city steps away from the central police precinct.
Yeah, this is why it looks like Weimar Germany. Some of these scenes, it's insane. And one last thing:
there should be zero tolerance to political violence, no matter where it comes from.
Where can people support you?
My Twitter, please.
Yeah.
There's a legal defense fund. My Twitter handle is Mr. Andy Ngo, MRANDYNGO.
Well, thank you so much, Andy.
Yeah,
really
Andy, we hope you
stopping by.
recover fully and quickly. Thank you for being here. We're really grateful.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Coming up on Rising, we've discussed the media and political angles. What about the legal perspective?
Former federal prosecutor Joseph Moreno will weigh in when Rising returns.